Alright guys, we're going back at it again with the Marvel Review Countdown, Day 7 of 18 towards Black Panther. This time we're talking about Iron Man 3. So again, let's tackle this movie's review in 5 subject matters. The sound, the visuals, the theme, the story, and the characters. Let's not dilly-dally and go straight to it. Now the sound. This movie has no memorable sound to speak of, to be honest. And that goes with the music as well. You can find the original soundtrack of this film, and you may find a few that you like, but none of them that stuck out while you were watching this movie. As the ambience and Foley aspect, this movie did a good enough job for us to believe the world, but it didn't bring us into the world, and that's another drawback for this movie. So let's skip right to the visuals. Visually, this movie is pretty bare bones. There's no real pizzazz to the visuals. We have a good few shots in the movie, don't get me wrong, but those shots don't make up for the entirety of the movie just being kind of a cookie cutter film. Now that isn't to be necessarily a bad thing, but when you're handling subject matters that the movie is tackling, it could have been nice to really explore and experiment how this movie could be told visually. But what's done is done, and I have to mark down what I see. So let's go straight into the themes. And the themes in this movie is a bit of a mixed bag, and if I had to put my opinion down, I think the main theme of this movie is it's okay to destroy a few for the greater good. And that theme is a classic, and this movie kind of failed at telling this classic theme. And that's mainly because it didn't really know what to do with it. Because we see a lot of other themes happen throughout the movie, and that's a shame because it had other dynamics that could have been very, very enjoyable and very thought-provoking. That again, it just failed in execution, and that's the main problem about this movie. It just fails in execution. So let's tell about the story, and this is where one of the biggest problems happen, is that the story is a bit of a mess. We have some great aspects in it that we have how Tony is handling his PTSD, how there's a big twist in the villain, how we see a new bonding between the characters, but the movie doesn't really lead to anything with it, and that's the biggest put down of this film. That just kind of feels unnecessary at times, and that's a shame because it has some really cool shots, has some really cool some really good little moments, but again, it doesn't really do anything with it, and that's the biggest shame. So let's move on to characters. Character-wise, this movie has a full roster, and the characters are all well acted. None of them really stood out. Even Tony, who was great and had some really interesting things going on with him, the movie just didn't know how to handle him, and that's the biggest problem I have with this film. And the villain here is a twist, wasn't really handled very well, and that's what really got so many people upset. That we saw this Mandarin, this really cool looking guy, who had this really good mystery around him, and we found out he's a fake, and that in itself doesn't mean it was a bad twist. It just means that who the twist was for didn't really earn that twist, and it felt flat. As for the side characters and Pepper and I'm gonna call him the Iron Patriot or War Machine because that's much easier. Those two don't really have any clear character arcs. You can make an argument for Pepper, but for even Happy Hogan, it just kind of goes. They're just for comedic effect and for some insight at times, but that's about it. So I think that wraps up my entire little monologue about this. So let's go back to the rating. I have to give this film a A 4 out of 10. This movie is pretty bad, but not awful bad. It's just, it fails in execution, but it had a lot of things going for it. It's just a shame that I didn't do more with it. Anyways, guys, this wraps up day 7. But then again, I'm just a guy sitting by the lagoon, enjoying the view. Catch you later.